going up, we going crazy, going bonkers. Produced by Ziggy, Zay Ticky, believe that.
It ain't peaches, it'll deceive you, boy, believe me. What you know about a jungle made with nothing but semen. No creepy crawlers, just heathens that prey on your weakness. Smell the slightest hint of fear, understand that you'll eat it. Gang bangers that greet your test on their face like Weezy. Pouring milk by the ounce, walking around looking sleepy. I'm from a town, no integrity, a broken city, disrupted. I know niggas who once were real, who now turning into suckers. When it comes to murder, it's nothing. Rallos get pulled over scuffles. Bumpy road around this motherfucker, your life means nothing. It ain't peaches. Niggas walking around with no feelings, with a chip on their shoulder, saying the world don't feel us. Trying to earn them some millions so they can split with they niggas. I know cats that died broke because they lost all ambition. When it comes out to get
All right, welcome back to another edition of More to Live For. We're right back on this great segment I have on this channel, Queens of the City. Fortunate enough to make it all the way to volume 19. Today I have a very special guest with me. I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you what it is that she does. This is going to be a good one. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing great. It's so good to see you. My name is Kathy
Likewise.
Smith, and you are a former student of mine. So I have taught music in Pitt County for 31 years. And it was just this year that I retired. So we have memories at Bethel School where I first started. I was actually at Bethel for 13 years. So a long stint there. And then I taught at another K-8 school, taught at Stokes for 5 years, Farmville, very short time. And then I finished out these past 12 years at Pactolis at the K-8 school there.
Oh, wow. That's just so wonderful. That you spent so many years teaching music, and you definitely played a major role in not only my life, but my close friends, close cousins. Just the way that we appreciate what music is itself, and all genres, not just one specific genre. One thing that I can definitely say about music, and I definitely think this ties into having a great music teacher. But to me, when I hear a song, especially an older song, I immediately go to the place that I was the first time I heard that, and I know that right there alone can almost show the love of music that I have. So I kind of want to talk about the good old days at Bethel School. Like you said, you spent so much time there and you started off there, and it's just amazing. And I can honestly say, I think we're the ones that age. I mean, you really look the same.
I'm a little fluffier.
To me, you pretty much look the same. I might have to go back and try to. I got those pictures from New York somewhere at my mom's house. I'm gonna have to go back and look at those. So, but it's definitely been an amazing journey. And I kind of wanted to talk about, just some of the good times that we had. Well, all were good times, to be totally honest. And I can often remember. I don't know if this something that you did once you left Bethel School, but I remember in the 90s we were able to find one of our favorite songs, the radio, definitely the radio edited version. And, at the end of the class, you would let us listen to one of our favorite songs in your big gray boombox, if you remember that.
I remember that big gray boombox, but I don't remember letting you all hear one of your favorite songs. When I started at Bethel, everything was new for me. Y'all were my first everything. And I learned a lot from my students at Bethel. I was growing and learning and tried a lot of new things. And I certainly remember wanting to expose everybody to a bunch of different genres. And I remember having to choose pieces from a list for our competitions, but then also in the springtime, hopefully doing a little more lighthearted pop versions and, just to have a lot of fun. And we certainly had a lot of fun. Out of all my 31 years of memories, I have fond memories at Bethel School, and certain students definitely stick out to me. And you just had Clifton on not too long ago on another
Yes.
podcast, and it was so good to hear you guys actually reminiscing about your times at Bethel School.
Oh yes, yes. It was that was just a great time. The '90s and everything that the '90s were. It just when I think of the '90s, I just automatically connect to Bethel School. So definitely think that was a great time. And real fast, the moment of time I was referring to when you let us listen to our favorite songs. This was when Bethel School had upstairs. So that's
Wow.
how long ago this was.
Yes.
This was early night. This was probably
Hmm.
93, 94 that I'm talking about.
Right.
So um, and
It was early on. Yes, I remember the upstairs, the creaky upstairs. Yes.
yes, definitely. And to tie into something that you just mentioned, the fact that you wanted to, just expose your students to different type of music, different genres, and how our, school plays wouldn't, our school plays varied with the type of music that we were doing. So I definitely think that that was important, and hats off to you for doing that. And it definitely played a major role into, all of our your former students, the love of music that we have. I can I can definitely remember we did a play themed around Greece. I remember doing that. I can't think of the exact name of it, but it was centered around Greece. And then later we did one that was kind of centered around Motown. And I remember, we were just with the music, we were really tapping into every genre, and I definitely think that was important. And something that I definitely want to touch on. I don't know I don't know if your students after Bethel School really know how much of a big deal you are. I tell people this all the time, and this is something that I can tell my kids, because I have a daughter that's in strings now. So it's just it's a real moment being at her plays, and I'm watching the chorus, I'm watching the band, I'm watching the strings, but I'm sitting there as a parent instead of being on stage. So that's a surreal moment in itself. So but I was saying that to say that for us to be the little school in the little town,
Right.
um, everywhere that we went, we brought back gold, and it was just amazing that we can be from a small town, small community, and go
Mhm.
out of state, and even go all the way to Broadway, and win first place, and things like that, and not only just chorus, but in bands and strings and everything. Just it just goes to show how awesome the whole music department was at Belter School. So definitely hats off to you and Mr. Arnie as well.
Thank you. It was awesome, and my parents raised me to have a spirit of excellence. And throughout my teaching, the entire 31 years, no matter where I was, I hope that I instilled a spirit of excellence in my students. And whenever you're working towards a goal, you want it to be the best it can be. And so it doesn't matter if you're from, a little old country road in the backwoods. If you put your heart into it, and if you practice, you reap what you sow. The more you practice, the better you'll get. And I really believe that we could hold our own against anybody, and we did. And so those were definitely fine memories. And we had some great talent, a lot of hidden talent. And I don't know if you remember. I'm sure you remember the Perkins family. So there were 7 of those
Yes.
children, and Elon Perkins actually came to see me. They just had a reunion, but he was talking to me about some of the Christmas performances that we did. And they were really big, and I didn't until I sent some of the pictures to you. We had for the to have to do it in a gym and not in a
Yes.
stage.
Yes. I
We
remember
kind of
those.
had some huge productions, And Elon brought it to my attention that my father, who passed away 3 years ago this month, my father used to help make those sets that we used at Bethel School. So that was quite some time ago. And I had actually forgotten that he was heavily involved in supporting, the building and the preparation. So that was kind of a nice memory when he brought it back to my attention, because my mom and my dad, they always were such great supporters of me, especially early in my teaching career. So,
and as you mentioned that, the memories are starting to pop back in my head. I definitely remember several occasions, your class having the opportunity to meet your parents. So I definitely remember that. Wow, that was nice of him to kind of mention that to you, and to be able to reconnect. I definitely think that's pretty cool. That's awesome.
That's one of the funnest things is now, because I taught at different schools and I've had more than one last name. When I first started at Bethel, I was not married yet, so I started out as Alexander. And when I run into students, who are now, 30 years older, 20 years older, and with children of their own, it is hard. Some of them I remember right away, but I have had quite a few. And so if they can tell me where I taught them, you taught me at Bethel, you taught me at Stokes, and then usually I can put a name with the face. And so, but that's always when I see folks, I'm so glad they come up to me and say, "Hey, are you Miss Smith? You taught me." And that's just a joy. I love that.
Definitely. Like I said, you still look the same. So it's definitely a blessing that people can, remain in contact with each other after all these years. Before I let you get up out of here, something that I definitely want to take time out to acknowledge you for. I'm not sure if you know this, but my dad has always lived in Connecticut. I had him in my life. I'm not saying that to say anything like that. I had him in my life. So with that being said, I've always had the opportunity, from 7, 8 years old to travel back and forth in the New York, Connecticut area. So I've always had that. So the field trip that we went on, and I can't remember if it was 98 or 99.
I think it was 98.
98. Okay.
I think it was 98.
That field trip was such a big deal for me personally because, we all were, obviously others were more than me, kind of, starstruck seeing the big city. But to me, it was such an amazing time because even though I've seen this before, now I'm seeing this with my friends, close friends that I actually grew up with. So that was just an amazing, it was just an amazing time. And then, around that time, I'm pretty sure that Home Alone 2 was getting old, but it just kind of felt like that to us. Like we just had that, we were just young and running in the city. So so I definitely want to take time and thank you for everything you did, putting that trip together. I don't know if you remember this, but I mentioned this to somebody, but I remember. Right before I think it was the night before we were heading back home, and it was kind of late. We were coming from who knows where. We were all around the city, but we were getting ready to say goodbye to not the bus driver that drove up there, but kind of like the hour. I'm sorry,
the tour guide.
Yeah, the tour guide. So, and I remember we sung to him right before we parted ways with him. So I definitely remember that gesture. I think that was a good gesture. And all the places that we went to, obviously the one that stands out the most to me, we went to the World Trade Center.
Yes.
That just stands out.
Yes, absolutely.
It was a period of time that, as these years went by, in my early 30s, I'm 37 now, but it was a period of time that I kind of struggled with that, mainly because, when we look back at the sad events that took place with the terrorist attack, the one thing that that jumped out of my that jumped in my head immediately was, okay, for one, this is a weekday. If I'm not mistaken, it was a weekday when that happened. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a weekday when we were up there. I remember that trip was a week-long trip. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we were in the city those that Wednesday and Thursday, like when we went to the World Trade Center, the Empire State Building, the All-Star Cafe, the baseball game, and the show on Broadway. I think that was all during weekdays. So, you know, I had moments where I kind of struggled with that because, you know, I was like, you know, not necessarily saying that could have been us, but I was just saying like, wow, this was a weekday. This is a major, you know, tourist attraction in the city. So unfortunately, it could have been another classroom, you know, another class making a field trip there. So that kind of
you're exactly right.
Yeah, so you know, I kind of struggled with that for a while, but being able to, you know, not only reconnect with you, but everybody that was on that trip together. So every year, September 11, I'm reaching out to people that we went on this trip with, and I'm just saying, you know, hey, how you doing? I hope all is well. Who knew that when we were there, you know, 20 years ago that, you know, this would happen. So, you know, so I just kind of wanted to touch in on that and just kind of let you know that, you know, you were a major part of, you know, my childhood. So,
well, it's great. You know, it's something that's great. You can tell your children you actually were able to visit the World Trade Center, and it's no longer there. And, you know, it was a great experience. Something else I remember about the trip, and I don't know if you remember, but I have pictures. We saw Tom Hanks in Central Park.
Yes.
I have a picture of that. And, you know, he's getting older and still super, super famous. And also Cindy Crawford.
I was going to mention that. Yes.
Show. And so I have a close-up shot. We were right there with Al Roker. And I
remember that.
I want to say, I think, did we have a Rochelle with us? Rashonda Carr.
Yes, Rashonda Carr.
Rashonda Carr.
She was on TV, yeah.
She gave a bag of peanuts to Al Roker. And that was one thing when we were gone. My dad had recorded the segment on Channel 7 when we were in New York City. And so I probably still have that on a VHS tape somewhere where we were all out there hollering and cheering when Cindy Crawford walked out. But, you know, seeing those people, that was, you know, we did so many things. I love the Broadway show. And I also remembered when the bus got a flat tire, one of the buses.
I remember that.
And so when we were going to the show, we all had to fit on one of the subway cars. And I remember the tour guide saying, stick together, keep your wallets in the front. And I remember it was like walking like the Flintstones. We were all touching each other. We walked on and then we all got off. We stuck right together like glue. So, you know, just super fun for me because I'd never been to New York either. So, you know, going with your group of you know, the chorus kids, you know, that's a strong, strong memory for me as well.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I do remember when I don't know why, but our tires got flattened on our bus. But one thing I can say, and this just goes to you know, to show the level of professionalism, and you know everybody's heart was in the right places. It was somewhere around 200 to 300 of us. I'm not sure the exact number, but I know it's 300.
Well, 3 buses. So
okay.
So closer to probably 150 of us.
Okay, all right.
3 buses, yeah, a lot of kids.
But I remember when that incident happened and we were walking and we ended up getting on the subway. I remember, you know, that everywhere I look, whether I'm in the front of the line or I'm in the back of the line, everywhere I look, I'm seeing a teacher or a chaperone. So I definitely want to, you know, take time out to commend you guys for, you know, the awesome work that you did because, you know, this day and age that we're living in now, you know, it's easy to look back now and say, wow, anything could happen. You know, all of us country kids are in the city and it's nighttime and we walking when we were just on a bus. So I definitely remember that. But I remember how, you know, like the tour guide said, everybody was close together. I definitely remember getting on the subway and we were, you know, standing right on top of each other.
Yeah.
Yep. And what you said about Tom Hanks and Cindy Crawford, I definitely remember seeing them. And when you said that about Al Roker, you reminded me of something. I'm not sure if you remember, but I remember it was the same day that we went to the Today Show. I'm not sure if that was the first or the second day. Okay, this one it was. When we went to the baseball game, we were leaving the baseball game. I don't know if we were going back to the hotel, if we were going get ready to perform, but we ended up back in Midtown. And I remember we looked out the window. You said somebody, I'm not sure if it was you or anybody else, but somebody was like, "Is that Al Roker pushing a baby carriage?"
That's right.
And it was.
Yes.
And I say that to say that, you know, as the years pass, and I'm watching the Today Show, and I can almost pinpoint which child that was of his, because he has a child that's 20 some odd years of age, and I can look back and I'm like, I saw you pushing that child in a baby carriage. So it's just amazing. So once again, that whole time, that whole experience was just beautiful, and thank you for all the memories. Not only New York, I think I went on, 2 trips to Williamsburg, if I'm not mistaken.
Busch Gardens, Williamsburg Showcase Festival. Yes.
So that was fun too. It wasn't New York, but it still was fun just to, to be with your friends, and we're out of town, but we're still, we really live the life of rock stars when we really sit back and think about it. That's what I tell my kids. I tell them all the time, we live the life of rock stars, because that was just a fun time. And Busch Garden memories are starting to come to me now, but I definitely can remember, we were having fun, and then at the drop of a dime, okay, it's time to get ready to perform, and we went to this big stage that they have out there, and I can remember that vividly now, and it hasn't crossed my mind in years, but I can remember the area that we performed at. It was Busch Gardens is separated into like countries or something. I think it was by Germany or something. And I haven't been to Busch Gardens in over 20 years, but I can remember that. So.
Well, I've been almost every year to a competition. If I didn't take a big trip, we've either been to a performance at King's Dominion or Busch Gardens or a theme park like that. But for me, I love friendly competition. I've always wanted to, again, to excel and have my students to excel. And so it's great to work towards a goal. So when we, had our rehearsals, we know we're going to get to the fun, but we were also going to perform. And and for me, going to the awards ceremonies and to hear your name called out, cheering for each other. That never got old. I went again this past year with the final class, that I'll probably ever go with. And we weren't first place, but second place. It was still, just to hear your name called out and to see the kids so proud of themselves and to, jumping up and down. So it's just for kids to belong to something and to be proud of a group that they're with. I love that. And to work hard with their group and to be able to do their part, so it's not just the fun, but it adds to the memories,
Yes.
and again, so many fond memories. And when you reached out to me, I was just ecstatic to hear that you were.
I was building up to it. Yeah.
That's great. So it's
always a plan.
Just been a joy. It really has.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. One last thing. It almost slipped my mind, but I definitely can't leave without mentioning this. I remember after I can't remember which hurricane it was, but I remember you and I want to say Mrs. Carmack. I'm not too sure, but I remember you guys coming together and were able to write a song, and the song was like a great song, and just to be a part of that, and to we were younger, but to see the actual work that it takes to make a professional song and to have it right in front of us, because like I remember we were working on putting it together, making it, and then we did it, and now it's on CDs and cassettes. So I just think that was so great, that to not only to have you as a music teacher, but to see that you actually made a song, you know, so I think that was cool.
Well,
I think
well,
that was,
here's the deal, and I don't know if you were with the class that actually wrote it, but we entered the Weyerhaeuser Daily Conservationist Songwriting Competition, and so we wrote it on the flood of the century, and I believe it was Hurricane Floyd. If
yes, it was Floyd.
Okay. And so the students helped write that. I'm not sure which age group helped to do that. And then we actually, because we won the competition, we won some money. Weyerhaeuser came, presented us with a check. And then from that, I don't know if we recorded the song and entered it as it was recorded or if we professionally recorded it afterwards, is I think what happened. And, you know, we ended up, I took kids, I don't know if you had gone on to high school, but we performed in quite a few places. And I actually, did you go on the trip to Washington, D.C.?
No, I think I was already gone.
So you might have gone. So the students that were there, that some of them that had helped to write, we went on to perform in DC, and there was a lady by the name of Judge Glenda Hatchett, who's on television, and she actually hadn't started her program yet. We sang in DC, and I want to say it was the Regency Hotel. Somebody paid for our way to go, and she was the guest speaker. And so our students, I mean, that was big time for our kids again. But we traveled to churches. We sang that song in so many places. And then of course we did the album. And then Denise Carmack, she wrote a school song. She wrote the Bethel School Song. And so when we did the CD, we had the two songs. We had the flood song, and then Denise sang the lead, and the choir sang the backup for I think it was called We Have the Victory.
Okay.
With Bethel,
all right.
we have the victory.
I remember now. I remember now. Wow. Wow.
Yes.
You still sound the same. Wow. Just it's just been amazing. It's just been amazing reliving these moments. And now I'm going to be thinking of more moments. And that's what this whole journey has been about when I reconnect with people from high school, middle school, and elementary school. It's all about catching up and, you know, reliving these great moments. So I think this has been wonderful. And I definitely, once again, I want to thank you for introducing me to music and everything that music is for me, because music has always been there. And one thing I learned about music, no matter how you feeling, it's a song about it. Good,
right.
Bad, in between, it's a song about how you feeling. So, and that's one thing that I learned from the class. So I think we're going to wrap things up. I definitely, like I said, I want to thank you for being a part of this, ma'am, and everything that you've been to me and my peers and my family. So, and I want to wish peace and blessings to you and yours. And I see that that we all are getting grown. I see your kids are grown now too. So
Yes.
it's just amazing how time flies. I didn't want to cut you off. Were you about to say anything?
No, I was just going to say thank you for reaching out. And I did want to say to any of my old students who would happen to see this, even though I'm retired from teaching music, I'm still doing some vocal coaching for some kids, but I am working at the Seahorse Steakhouse, and I'm baking cakes there. That's my restaurant. My husband has run that restaurant for years while I was teaching. And so I'm retired, but not retired. So, you know, stop on in, be sure to speak. If I don't recognize you, say, hey, you taught me. And I'm sure it'll come back to me. But I'd love to see as many students as I can. And thank you so much again.
Oh, yes.
It was great to see you, and keep on supporting your children in music. And you know, music makes the world go round.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And thank you so much. I'm going to wrap things up here. This has been another edition of More to Live for Queens of the City, Volume 19. Peace and blessings to all. Press start recording. Okay. There we go.